All right, man. So, welcome aboard, everybody. I think our mics are live. We're on screen right now. My name is Doobyis. This is Fly in Formation. You already know what it is. I talk to artists across the country every week. If people are looking for music to listen to, I do a weekly mix of independent Canadian hip hop every week called After the Smoke is Clear. You can find everything I do at Doobyis.com, including After the Smoke is Clear, as well as these Fly in Formation interviews. Today I got Kryple here with me, so I won't spend any more time plugging my own links and shit.
I'll plug away.
Appreciate you being here, bro. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. I think, you know, your new album, Johnny Rich, brand new, came out what, 2 days ago now. So
2 days fresh off the press, man.
Yeah, so I listened, you know, to the singles as they were dropping. Played a couple of those on Atzik, of course. But yeah, I would highly recommend everybody check out the entire album. I got a chance to listen through the entire thing this weekend and really enjoyed it, dude. I think you killed that shit.
Thank you, man.
I guess a good spot to start is just, do you want to tell people kind of the elevator pitch for the album? Like, what did you set out to do with this one, dude?
Well, mainly I had two main goals here. I wanted to tell more of my story, like, you know, and then I just wanted to expand musically as an artist, writer, and a producer. I just wanted to just do more than than a typical album that I would do, or probably even most rappers for that matter. Like, I want to add a lot of live elements to it, and yeah.
So were a lot of
instruments played on it.
Oh, okay. A lot of the instruments were live session. Yeah, nice.
I produced every beat on the album except two of them. And then, but the majority of the ones, I'd make a beat and then I bring it to the studio, and then Ari would either replay something or add to it. And there's like a lot of live bass on there. There's a lot of guitar on there. We have violins and bongos and pianos. And it's just a plethora of, like, you know, things. I wanted it to sound not just like a typical hip hop album.
So was it a variety of different musicians playing those instruments, or just one guy? You said Ari or whatever.
Yeah, Ari did like most of it. I had a different guitar player as well named Peter, or Was Not is his like artist name.
Sure.
He's a dope producer as well and a really good guitar player. So I had him, but yeah, mostly it was just like me and Ari. I think Nato played the trumpet on one of the songs too. Because Nato played trumpet.
You play keys and shit, right? Like you'll play stuff on a keyboard, right? Or do you play other instruments too? You.
I'm not trained in any instrument, but I do play keys, but I'm not classically trained or anything like that. I'm just self-taught. So I have limitations to what I can do, but I do understand the theory of it. I know chords and progressions and shit like that, but it's not like natural to me. Like, I got to sit there and try for a bit to come up with melodies. I don't just know where to go.
What about with Nato? Was he playing stuff on this one too?
He played trumpet.
That's dope. Like actual real trumpet? Nato knows how to play a trumpet? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he grew up playing trumpet and shit. Actually, what's funny is, technically no, but technically yes, in a sense. So Ari recorded a bunch of one-shots. Do you know what one-shots are?
Yeah, like just stabs or whatever, like punch in.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he played Nato. He recorded Nato playing the trumpet a while back, and every like octave and every key. And then so he just added Nato's trumpet playing to one of the beats. We were gonna get him to redo it, but it sounded good as it was already. So, but I still say Nato played the trumpet on the album because technically he did. He played it, and then Ari programmed it.
So just so that people understand here, like most of the time when in hip hop you're working with live instruments, you're just going to record like a sample and then sample the live instruments, right? Is that the process, or were people actually playing full, you know, lines of an instrument?
Like a lot of the time it'll be like a loop, because hip hop is mainly loop based.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes not. Like for this one, it's all over the map.
Okay.
Like I have a song on there where I just made a drum loop, and then Ari played guitars and bass and added extra shit to it. I have other ones where I use samples and then he replayed the samples. I have other ones where I just like made a beat, played some stuff, and then he added to it on top. Like, we kind of did everything. I think generally a lot of artists just sample stuff, but there's not that many in hip hop, especially like in a local level, that are adding a lot of live instrumentation, and rightfully so. It's not the cheapest route to go, and it's not like, you know, it's hard to find instrument players for this and that, and you got to hire them and pay them out. When you could just go on Splice and find a guitar sample? I get it. To me, it was just something I wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart though, because then you get to sample stuff people haven't heard on Splice, but you
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
necessarily have to pay, to clear samples from records or whatever if you're bringing
I
in.
will say, I will say, there's nothing he didn't. There's nothing on this album that somebody played that I sampled and made a beat out of. Everything was like I would either make it and do it, or he would just play along for certain parts, and we chop it and move it and whatever. But I
Right.
didn't. I don't remember taking just like a guitar loop and then making a beat out of it or anything like that. It
Okay.
was kind of like me just like creating something and then adding to it, or that's pretty much the majority of it.
Sounds like a time-consuming process too. How long were you guys working on this?
About 3.5 months. I
Yeah.
was there pretty much Monday to Friday, 8 to 3 for 3.5 months, minus maybe like 7 or 8 days that like NATO was busy or I was busy or something that couldn't make. But yeah, I was
Yeah.
up early every day. I'm not typically the guy that gets up at 7 in the morning.
Putting in office hours, right? I saw you guys talking about morning sessions for this. How
Yeah,
different is working in the morning for you?
for me it's a little bit different, but I also like it. It was a cool like routine to get into. It just Yeah, sometimes I don't feel like a normal member of society because my lifestyle is very different. And that
Sure.
made me feel like a normal, going for lunch every day at a normal lunchtime. And like even today, what time is it? 3 o'clock? I haven't eaten yet today. That's like my average day to day. Like I don't just wake up and eat. It's not
Yeah,
the best thing, but
I'm the
yeah, it was
same way,
cool. It was a
dude. No,
good
I just drink
schedule.
coffee. I haven't eaten anything all day.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
And NATO's got kids and stuff, so that's the schedule that works best for him. He drop his kids off, go to the studio, stay at the studio till he's got to pick up kids, and then
Yeah.
go do that. So some days we obviously stayed late and shit like that, but
Was there a change in like sobriety working in the mornings? I feel like the typical recording session happening later in the evening might lean towards more more celebratory type of atmosphere than working in the morning might.
well, I don't really drink, and even with weed, I smoke like diet weed. I smoke like CBD,
Okay, word.
so like low THC, like 8 to 10%.
Yeah.
Um, I would say about half the days I'd smoke at the studio, but I'd wait till after lunch to smoke. But I find I'm less productive now when I smoke. I used to be productive when I was younger. Now, if I smoke, I just like I got a good hour in me, and then I lose focus, or I get tired, or I'm just
Fair
it's
enough, man.
it's not conducive with making good music for me anymore. So
Yeah.
I try to stay away from that.
Go at it like a true professional. Just clear mind, clear eyes. There you are.
That's it. Yeah.
So, dude, there's kind of a trend that I've noticed with not just indie hip hop and it's as well as the mainstream stuff, that a lot of artists have been dropping albums with their name as the title of the album, like their government name actually, and kind of doing like a "this is the real me" kind of moment with the album. And I listened to your entire album and didn't clue in that was kind of what you were doing with this the entire way through it. I was,
Yeah.
like Rich at Heart, I was like, oh, okay, so he's talking about he's Johnny Rich. But then at the end, I think on Hope, you mentioned your actual name. I'll make people listen to it. I assume it's your actual name, but so I was like, oh, okay, so this is the self-titled album from Kryple. I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
like, is it a stripping down of like the persona? Are you stepping away from the Kryple persona for a moment here on this one, or like?
No, but like I feel like trying to do a whole rebrand with a new name would just kind of like it has its pros and cons. I feel like from like a social media and like a marketing standpoint, it'd be cool to just have like a fresh start and make all new pages and do stuff. But
Right.
then I also feel like I've done quite a bit, man. I have some accolades that I'm pretty proud of under my name Kryple. And the other thing is like I have Kryple on everything. It's my Instagram handle. Like I'm the one
Yeah.
and only person that's named Kryple because it's not even a real word or a real name. It's just like a
And
fucking thing that
that's a
came
good
up.
place to be, man, because a lot of artists have to do
Yeah.
the like, so and so music or this guy hip hop or whatever
Yeah,
on
so I think
various
a lot of people
platforms.
know
Yeah.
me as Kryple, so it doesn't make sense for me to change it, but at the same time, I think having like another moniker or like a nickname or something, it doesn't. It's like I said, it's my real name. My name's John Shard, so like, uh, why not just go with it? I was feeling stagnant for a while, and like just like I'm how do I word this? I've done all right for myself. Like as far as musicians, I'm in the top percentile of musicians. I make a living off making music, which a
Yeah,
lot of
man.
people don't get to do. So I'm proud of that. But I'm definitely nowhere near where I want to be. So and the things aren't working the way that I want them to be, you know? I have a lot of friends that are pretty successful in music, and I see that I'm like, okay, how do I take it from here to that step to like a fucking, you know, a Mercury step or something like that, where you're like doing real numbers and, you know,
Yeah.
packing 1,000-person shows and stuff like that. And so it's just like taking a hard look at what I'm doing and pointing out what I'm doing wrong. I don't think I was doing anything majorly wrong, but I also don't think I was doing anything majorly right either. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. So this is like my first step in it was, okay, maybe step away a bit from like the braggadocious rap shit and open up and just talk about my life more and make more personal and relatable music. I think when you get personal, when you're trying to be relatable, it can come off as unauthentic or corny. And when you're just being yourself and telling your story, that's when you really become relatable. So, and I feel like when I was doing the Doom Squad stuff, we had a lot of that where we were just being ourselves and it worked and it was
Right.
relatable. And I think there's like I'm trying to think of the word. There's in rap, you feel like you at least I did. I felt like I had to be a certain something because most people, when you're this, they'll receive that well. And perception is everything in entertainment. If people perceive you to be this, they'll treat you like that. If they, you know, so
For real.
I think like I'm stepping away from that as well. Where for a long time, I wouldn't say I was ever trying to be fake, but I also like I didn't show the vulnerability or the downside to it a lot, and you know, I would just highlight the good parts. But I think that's hard to relate to because one, my life isn't all good parts, and nobody else's life is all good parts. So
Right.
like,
Yeah, it's a question of how much people want to hear that in the music that they're consuming, right? Like,
exactly.
you know, you've got a track on there. I think it was. Let me take a look. The goddamn hide it well. Yeah, hide it well. You're talking about kind of, you know, keeping some of that to yourself or whatever, that you're going through stuff but that people might not see it. um and I think, like, I wanted to ask you, do you think that the audience doesn't want to see vulnerability from an MC?
Uh, that's a hard question. I think people want to see vulnerability. I think so. I'm, listen, I'm a rapper. I am a rapper. I make rap music, but
Yeah.
I didn't try to make a rap album. I just tried to make a good album. I think opening it up and being able to hit more audiences and more people is good. I think maybe rap fans aren't necessarily always here for vulnerability. There is some by far, but there's
Yeah,
also a lot of rap fans that don't like that shit and they just want to hear some hard body shit.
for
But
sure.
overall, as a population, the people want to hear that shit. The people relate to that stuff. Hide It Well is my favorite song on the album. And I recorded that song in 2018 and I've sat on it for like 7 years because I wasn't ready to be that vulnerable and I didn't think the song was complete fully as it was. So like I went back to it with this project. As soon as I came up with this idea for the album and I knew what I wanted to do, that was the first song where I already knew. I was like, "Hey, I'm finally gonna put this out. I'm gonna put it on this project." I just wanted to get Jordan Max on it. Jordan Max is like one of my favorite singers in the entire world. He's a dude from the UK. He's
Nice.
incredible. I've been talking with him for years and we just never were able to really like make a song happen.
How
But
did you
this time we
discover his
finally
work? Do you know the guy personally, or?
Trip showed it to me. One day he was just playing it. I was like, "Who's this? This guy's crazy, bro." And I just been listening to him for years. I followed him on Instagram one day, and he followed me back. And I just messaged him. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm just a fucking huge fan. I really like your music. Would love to work one day." And we
Nice.
just been chatting kind of back and forth over the years, here and there. He's from the UK, so like I tried to meet him when I was out there, but he's got kids and you know, lifestyle. I was only in Manchester for 2 days, so it didn't really work out.
Tough.
But
Yeah.
yeah, for this one, even this, like I got his vocals like 3 days before I had to submit the album. So it was like the last piece to the puzzle. And I was waiting to the point where, fun fact about that song, there's a part after the second hook where it's like a bridge where I'm singing. And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
that Justin Cohen is backing me up. That was the original hook I wrote for it 7 years ago. And it was me singing it, but it wasn't strong enough. And then when I didn't know if I'd get Jordan Max's verse in time, I sent it to Justin. I was like, "Hey, can you just sing this?" And I told him what I was like. I was like, "Hey, I'm waiting for this, but just in case I don't want this song to go to waste, so we'll do this." And I even said to Nato, I was like, "Watch, as soon as Justin sends me this, I'm gonna get a message from Jordan saying like, hey, I can get this done." And because
Yeah.
Jordan's, his wife's a musician or something along those lines, and he was traveling with her and always busy and in different cities and wasn't able to hit a studio. So I was like, hey, well, here's my backup plan. Justin sent me the vocals. Like 3 hours later, Jordan was like, yo, I'm home. I'll hit the studio tomorrow. I was like, fuck, how do I? So he sent this hook. It was cool, and just the way it worked out, like I really liked his hook. It was perfect for a hook, but I also felt the song still needed something extra. So
Right.
I just laid a top line on that extra part, had Justin back it up, and then because Trips was the one that showed me Jordan Max, and he's also a huge fan of him, I got Trips to do like some vocals on the outro just to have him on it as well, and kind of like a full circle moment of
Nice,
like
man.
that's the guy that showed it, and let's get them all together. So
There were a lot of
that's
really
all.
like catchy, well, not even necessarily catchy. That makes it sound like kind of bubblegum pop, but
No,
like
I
there were a
like
lot of
catchy
good
stuff.
melodies and yeah, I mean, yeah, catchy as well, stick in people's heads, but definitely marketable melodies throughout the album. Whether it was the couple choruses that Trips did, or stuff that you were singing yourself, or other vocalists. I think you had a female vocalist on there too at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, Kiera, she's from
Yeah.
Edmonton here too. She's incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Super
Was
dope.
it a choice to use more melody on this album?
I mean, yeah, I think it's always a choice for anything, but I think and I wasn't like going into this project like I need more melody. It was
Right.
just like I'm writing songs like that one that Kiara's on, for instance. That was another one. I wrote a few of these hooks on it and I sang them and I just didn't like how it sounded. And I thought I could be better. Like I'm a real stickler for like how do we get the best product? I'm not I know a lot of artists are like, "Oh, but I want to do this. I want me to be the one singing." And it's like, "Oh, I could have kept me on it and it would have been okay, or I could get this person on it and it can be great." Well,
Yeah.
let's make it fucking great. So that one with Kiara, I wrote that, I sang it. I was like, "Can you do this?" And so she sang my hook, but then she wrote her whole bridge and outro part and stuff like that. And yeah, and same with the "Oh, that's right, you a bitch," where Trips is singing. Like,
Right.
girl, I wrote that. I had it. I was gonna use that. And shout out having good friends, by the way. If you're an artist, make sure you get friends in your corner that will tell you the real shit. Because I sent this to a bunch of people, and they all said the same thing, which is like, this is okay, but if you get this person or somebody else to sing it, it's really going to come to life. And I agreed. So, but sometimes the stubborn artist in you too is like, but I want to be the one on this. And so I was like, nah, let's get Trips to sing this hook. Let's get that one with Kiara on it. Was like, the song is so like personal and like soft, I guess, for lack of better terms. I was like, it needs a female voice. It needs something
Right.
nurturing in it to like bring it together. And I've worked with Kiara before, and I think she's really talented. So she killed it, made it perfect
Yeah,
in my mind.
I agree, man. So you kind of touched on a couple of things that I wanted to ask you about, but in the first track, Spark, you talk about kind of how your creativity is at its limits. There's a bar, something you say like creativity is at its limits. Now it's, I don't know, numbers and analytics, or I think I'm butchering the bar a little bit, but it's something along those lines. And I wanted to
Yeah,
ask,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
do you feel like the creativity side of this is maxed out at this point?
No, but I did going into this, and then like so Spark, I wrote like last summer. I wrote
Okay.
that, and that's kind of was like I was listening to it over and over, and that's how I was feeling before I decided to make this album. And that's why I made it the first song on the album, because it's kind of like that feeling is what sparked me wanting to do this, where I felt stagnant. I felt like I'm fucking just chasing views and streams and watching analytics, and I
Yeah.
lost like, because I'm so independent, I don't like, I have a team but I don't have a staff, if that makes sense. Like I have people that are around and that help me and then I wouldn't be able to do this without, but I also don't have like full-time staff working for me or anything. So this is me editing videos, building marketing plans, booking tours, fucking doing all this shit.
Yeah.
And it's that ability and my business sense has been able to put me into a place where I can make a living off this, but it also takes a lot of time away from being creative. And so I was like, man, I'm losing my creative edge here. I'm losing my inspiration. I'm finding it harder to write songs and think of concepts and this and that. And I realized it's because I'm spending all this time on the other side of it, trying to make money, trying to book, trying to keep growing, which
Sure.
is also essential. So, but with this, I was blessed enough to get a grant for the album. So I was able to just take a few months to like only focus on this really, and be able to hire musicians and do some really dope shit. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was how I was feeling before I made the album and going into it. And that's what inspired that feeling, inspired me to want to be more vulnerable, to switch it up, to, be myself and like try some new things, switch up the content, switch up the subject matter, switch up the sound a bit. Like I still feel like this album sounds like me, but it sounds like a new and improved version of me. I still think it sounds hip hop, but it
Yeah,
sounds like more musical. It's, you know,
I would agree, man.
more
Yeah.
people will be able to listen to this and be like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, word, man.
So
So last time I talked to you, you said something that I've quoted to a few other artists actually about how like, don't we all want to be as famous as we possibly can be? And I can tell you at this point, we're coming up on 100 different interviews with, almost 100 different artists now. That like, no, not everybody is out for that. Definitely not. And
I think that might have been misconstrued though too, because like you're not going to have success in the music industry as an artist without being famous.
okay,
And I think a lot of people are just like, well, I don't want the fame. I just want the money.
right.
Well, you're an idiot if you don't think that that comes hand in hand. You could be a songwriter or a producer or somebody behind the scenes and maybe do all right monetarily, but if you as an artist want to make a living full time off your art, yes, that's going to come with it. You
Yeah.
need popularity to make money. You need fans to make money, and with
People
that
are going to buy
popularity is
the
going to
entire
come fame.
persona, right?
It's
You
going
need,
to that
yeah,
just comes with it. So I say anybody that says that they don't want to be famous, but they still want to be a musician, I'm not going to say they're lying, but I think they just don't understand how this industry works. Like
sure.
you can't have your cake and eat it too, bro. This is one of the hardest industries in the world to break into. And
Right.
that I just watched an interview with Ben Affleck the other day. He did a Theo Vaughn's podcast, and Ben and Theo asked Ben about paparazzi, and he literally said, he's like, "No, I fucking hate it. I stay at home all the time." But he's like, I knew exactly what I was getting into when I got into this. You can't make great art that people love without getting hounded by people and being the center of attention. It's what literally comes with it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
that
like,
makes sense,
so
dude.
I think
As a
that's a,
follow up to that from last time, I kind of wanted to ask you that, like, on this album, I heard a lot of kind of like looking back proudly at all the things you've accomplished. There was a fair amount of like, "Look, Mama, I made it" kind of raps on this, and so I
yeah.
wanted to ask, like, do you feel like you've attained the level that you were looking for? I
No,
don't know,
I
success
never do,
wise,
but
or yeah,
I'm like a guy that always, as soon as I set a goal and I reach it, I already have a next goal. So like,
okay.
but one thing I say all the time is I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I'm way past where I ever thought I'd be. So you get caught up in the moment a lot. We live in the moment. So I also took a good time last year after tour where I was just chilling to like look back and reflect on things that I've done. And like I said, I'm not famous, I'm not rich, but I still am in the top percentile of artists. I'd be a fool to not notice that, like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
not many artists I know get to make a full-time living off their music. So like I'm super blessed in that aspect. And you know, if everything ended tomorrow, there's of course there's things I still want to do, but I'd be very proud. I'm very proud of what I've been able to accomplish and make happen, and like the amount of tours I've done and the amount of spotlight I've got and money I've been able to make off music and just all of these little things combined. It's like, yeah, I'm fucking
yeah,
super
man.
grateful, super happy. I look back at it like, you know, the look, mama, I made it. Like I don't think I've made it yet because my mom still has a job.
Yeah,
My
I
family
did
is
hear
still
that
working.
part too. You're trying to
And,
retire your mom or something. You
yeah, they
say at
still,
one point, yeah.
so it's like to me, making it, the term making it is
So
to be
wide.
interpreted by the individual. But
Yeah,
to me, that is my family is good. The financial freedom to make sure my family is good, that I don't have to worry about the small things. That's to me is like being able to make it. But even that can consists of constant work. Like you can never stop working.
I mean, I
So
like what you said about it meaning different things to different people, because to a lot of people, living off their music, and like you said, you've already achieved that you get to live off your music. So that's one of the dreams. And then you
yeah,
level up that goal to the
absolutely.
next thing. And it's like, well, now I'd like my family to also be able to live off this music or whatever. Like, just bigger
Yeah.
and bigger, right? Yeah.
And that goes back to, and I think most people, I don't know what to call it, but like people that are extremely driven, I call them sharks, is what I call them. Like
Sure.
I have friends that I call sharks that are just like disciplined, always getting to fucking work. Nothing's ever good enough. Like, not that it's not good enough, but it's like you reach a goal, you have a next goal. You like the ceiling is the sky. Like there's no real limit to where you can take this. And I think
Yeah.
anybody that's hardworking and persistent will say the same thing. Like, yeah, I do recognize that living off music is a dream, and that was my dream when I was a kid. But now I'm living off of music, and I'm still like, it's not like I just have money stashed away for rainy days and blah blah blah. Like I'm investing everything I make back into this
Right.
and paying bills at the same time. So even that is like it's dope, but I'm still fucking hustling.
But you got to
I'm not
keep
just like
making the
sitting
music.
comfortable, like
Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? I'm still not at a place where my streaming pays my bills. Like I gotta hustle. I gotta sell beats and do other things and make merch and go tour and like these things all count towards my income at this point. So I'm like, yeah, I'm at a great point for sure. It's undeniable. But to me, I'm not happy with where I'm at yet because once again, I got new goals and like
Yeah.
I have a lot of stuff that I want to be able to accomplish here, and it's not there yet. So
Yeah, makes
yeah,
sense, dude. Um, another thing I wanted to ask about this album is that there's a lot of kind of rap about rapper stuff, which is like something I see from artists across the map. The rappers love to rap about like the struggle to be a rapper, right? Like, um,
I tried to
and
refrain from it as much as I can, but it's gonna happen.
yeah, yeah, right. So I wanted to ask, like, did you think about that consciously at all? Because I know some artists, and myself included, have sometimes thought like, nah, I'm rapping too much about just rapping. If I want other people to relate to this, because I relate to hearing your bars about like the struggle and the come up, and I watched you do it, and fucking it's been beautiful to see and all this. But like, I think fellow artists can relate to that stuff. But I don't know, like, does the general public, do you think, want to hear about like how tough it is to be a musician all the time?
No, no, they don't. And even my mom pointed this out to me at one point while I was making this album. She's like, "You rapped a lot about the struggle of being a rapper. Are you going to tell more of your story?" And I said, "Yes, yes, I am."
Word.
But at the same time, I think it's hard to not rap about that when that's what you're going through,
Yeah, when
and
that's
that's your
been life for
experience.
so long and it's a day-to-day
It's
grind that you're doing,
yeah,
right?
it's like
Yeah.
if I'm going to be authentic to myself, I still have to tell that part of the story.
Yeah.
But like I said, I was conscious of not making a whole album of that. There's a couple songs where I touch on it and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but I was talking about like, real shit, like how I feel when I'm depressed and how
Yeah.
things were when I was growing up and like what my relationships are like these days with people because of it. And like, I'm in a weird place now where I'm 34, bro. All my friends have kids and jobs and all my people I grew up making music with don't have the time to sit and make music every day like I do, and rightfully so, bro. You got kids, you
Yeah.
got bills, I can't expect anybody to chase a dream. So it's like it makes it a little bit more difficult to like find the not the inspiration, but like a proper workflow. That's why I started going to NATO's a lot more too, just to have somebody else around me that's in the similar boat as me that we're like, yeah, we're just trying to hustle and work on this every day. And like, I have a dope ass fucking little studio in my house here, but
Yeah.
I'll sit here for 45 minutes and then be like, I'm over this. Like the inspiration doesn't draw the same like it does when I'm over there. And like,
That makes sense, dude. I wanted to ask specifically like what NATO brings to the table that keeps you and so many other artists going back to work with them.
well, numerous things, man.
Yeah.
One, I just love NATO as a human, man. Me and him get along very well. He's just a good ass person, top to bottom. Um, so that makes me keep wanting to work with him. And then on top of that, he's extremely talented at what he does. He built a great studio that I have like I'm inspired when I go there. I like being there. I feel like I'm at work when I'm there. So it's like when I'm there, I have no distractions. I can't just go downstairs and play Madden or fucking go take a
Right.
call or go, like my discipline is much higher when I'm there. And but I think we have a really good chemistry as like an engineer and an artist. Excuse me. And we've been working maybe almost a decade now together and just slowly but surely building up a better relationship. So like I said, I've done my last few albums with him, but normally I would just go in, record a couple songs, every week or two, and then slowly put together a little project. As whereas this was like, okay, I'm coming in every day. This is the only focus. Like the
Right.
first month I was there, he has a back studio as well. He's a main studio and then he has a back room. The
Yeah.
first month I was there, I kind of just like sat in the back room writing and making beats while he was over there working on Merck's album or whatever he had to get done at the time too. And
Yeah.
And then as I started making songs, I'd go over to the next room and record. And then the next month or two, I spent mostly in the big room recording and then bringing Ari in and adding instruments. And, some days we'd spend 7 hours just adding guitar and a flute or something onto one song, like trying this, trying that, like having the time to be able to experiment more and not everything didn't have to be so absolute like it usually is with me, where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we got 3 hours in the studio today. We got to make sure the song is done.
Was that mostly a benefit of having the grant to pay for a closer to unlimited amount of studio time, or
For sure,
yeah,
absolutely. Like, not to say that like me and Nate have a good working relationship already, and he kind of like he lets me work, you know what I mean? But uh like on his end, he didn't have to worry about working on other stuff at this time. So then the time was more dedicated. Like we were able to dedicate all of this time to this project. So absolutely, the grant helps with that shit for sure. Because instead of being able to buy a couple days, I was able to buy a couple months, pretty much, and just you know. And that's also a testament to our working relationship, right? Like, I don't know what his relationship with other artists or anything like that is, but like when you have a good personal and working relationship, it's nothing to be able to like go in and you're excited to go in and work every day.
right.
So it's like I think he enjoyed it just as much as I did because the workflow is good. We both like the music and the product that we're making, and in turn, that's what makes it so good. Is
Yeah,
when you guys are both on the exact same page, same wave, with the same goal.
easy to work, good atmospheres. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to ask you about another couple specific tracks here. The one with Lil Windex. I wanted to know, did you guys debate crediting him as Lil Windex or as DTG on that one? Because he's almost rapping from an outside of Lil Windex perspective, where he talks about like, people hated on me for wanting to go viral, or there's a bar, something like that. I've only listened through
Yeah.
this album once, but I'm trying to remember as best I can. But it felt, I don't know, more authentic and less memey than some stuff that he's done in the past.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, the verse was more written from like a DTG perspective for sure.
Yeah,
I just credited Lil Windex on the album because we have so many songs together already that the songs perform much better when it's Kryple and Lil Windex than when it's Kryple and DTG.
right.
So it's like just kind of like he says both of the things. Like at this point, everybody knows that's who he is and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But just even he said you should credit Lil Windex on there instead of DTG because it'll do better. You'll reach more people. And
makes
so
sense.
that
Yeah,
was the meaning. That was not the meaning, sorry, but that was the reasoning behind uh crediting it. Because initially it was going to be DTG. And then I even asked him, and he's like, "Well, this will do better." And I'm like, "Yeah." I didn't want to do that out on my own accord. But once he
right.
was like, "Yeah, do it." Like, why not get the music to more people? Like every song I have with him are some of my highest performing songs. My only video and song with 1 million streams is with him. So it's like,
Were you there for the birth of Lil Windex? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I was there
okay.
for all of it.
Yeah, the
I
first
was
track
made.
that, that he was on as Low Index, that was with you, or take me back to how
No,
that came around. I don't know.
I think the third song he ever did was the Doom Squad Cipher.
Okay.
But Dylan's literally my best friend. Like that's my fucking BFF, bro. We talk like every day. Like that's my guy. So, and we've been pretty close for a long time. I used to just go out there and shoot skits with him and stuff before the Low Index thing when he's still doing like the Canadian skits and the rapper skits and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then yeah, he did it. Lil Windex was just a skit at the start. It was like him just making fun of rappers, and it blew up so big that he's like, "Well, let's make a song out of it." And then he made a song and a video, and that shit blew up so much. So he did Cleaning It Up, then he did Fuck Me Up with Caspian, and then his third release was the Doom Squad Cipher.
Right. Okay.
And
Yeah.
so like, and that came out like a week and a half after that Fuck Me Up one. So like, we got a lot of like that video would play and then recommend this one, and so we
Momentum.
got a lot of like new ears and fans. And then he might have done one or two songs after that, and then we did Sauce. But like I was around for all of it. His first little tour he even did was like a 5 show run in Ontario, and I was there for that. And
Yeah.
I've pretty
Dude's
much
a
done every
content
tour.
genius, man. Yeah.
He's not even just content too. Like he's a filming genius too.
But
That
his
guy's
bars are
worked
dope
behind it.
too. Yeah, he's a
Yeah, his
genius on
bars are
multiple
dope.
ends.
His work behind a camera and like his writing ability as far as like we did a short film, 11-minute short film for this album. It'll come out once the tour's done.
Yeah.
Incredible. Like this guy, his abilities are I've never seen anybody with this much talent like that. Like just raw, natural talent when it comes to whatever it is, music, skits. Like he's one of the funniest people I ever met in my entire life. Like even just on a human level hanging out.
Yeah,
But then when it comes to like making content. For context, I didn't write a script for the short film. I just had a storyline. I was like, this is what I want to happen. Here's kind of what I want as characters. And he flew out and we filmed it all with no script. It was okay, let's do this scene. And then he's just like, say this, say this, say this, say this. You should say this. Oh, do it like this. The whole thing was done just like that. This guy can do an entire film in his head without writing a script and make it absolutely amazing. Like it's
nice.
crazy. You look
Yeah.
at the work that he's doing right now with Cam, and it's just next level, man.
Yeah, word, man. The other track that I wanted to ask you about was the Doom Squad kind of reunion track. When I talked to Trips, I don't know, a month or two ago, he kind of said like, "There's a ton of Doom Squad music that's still out there recorded that we could put out. It's just a matter of kind of coming together and deciding that that's in everybody's interest to do that." What went into this track with Doom Squad?
Well, it was one of those. It was an old song that was recorded in 2018 that I just pulled out
Okay,
of the vault and revamped.
nice.
Yeah, because like I wasn't able to get nines in the studio during the time frame I had to do this, but I always want to have the boys on every project I do. So I searched far and wide. I searched my whole hard drive. I went through like 60 songs, and that was the one I was like, man, this song is absolutely amazing. This needs to see the light of day. It can't be sitting on a hard drive. And the song was called My Reality. And I was like, this is the perfect one for an album about my life. Like, this
Right,
is okay, perfect. This is it. So I just did that. I added a verse to it, and that's what it is.
nice.
And I love it. The song is great, man.
This is kind of broad, but can I ask you for like a specific line or concept from the album that you hope people don't miss?
Fuck. I don't know,
Or
man.
just kind of a takeaway that you hope people get from it, you know?
Well, be yourself. Don't be
Okay.
scared to get vulnerable. Don't be scared to be yourself. I hope people really take in the last song on the album. It's like a full story.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's like, it's not like a true story. It's just something I came up with, but it's based off things I've seen. And I like, I took from that, like, don't get too caught up in the moment. Fucking the drug shit. I've had a lot of friends that still suffer with drug addiction. I've lost friends to drug addiction. I
Yeah.
lost my dad to drugs. Like I
That's some real
that's
shit,
like a
man. Yeah.
it's a soft spot to me. So I wanted to make a song that kind of just like hit those emotions.
Yeah.
But I didn't think me just rapping about it from an outside perspective and just talking about you shouldn't do drugs and blah 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 wasn't the way to do it. So I feel like telling a story that people can get emotionally attached and invested in and walk away. Even the way I ended it, like I ended it on a third bar. I didn't even do a fourth bar. I just said, "Hold on to hope," because you know it does. And then I just let that fucking beat ride out with that eerie horn and like
Yeah.
I wanted people to, by the time the album ended, to feel it
Yeah, man.
at the very end. Like that's the last thing I wanted people to walk away with was that feeling.
I mean, dude,
Um,
I'm a big advocate for harm reduction or whatever. I used to work at a supervised consumption site and shit, so I've seen
Absolutely.
a lot of people's stories who have been affected, by addiction and who have ended up on the streets and stuff, and heard a lot of those stories myself. So, I think you did a really good job of writing it into a narrative that people could see. I could see you walking into a Tim Hortons or something. You didn't specifically mention Tim
Yeah.
Hortons, but I've seen the guy outside the Tim Hortons, and I've bought him a coffee and muffin or whatever before, and like that's and then coming back and telling his story a little bit, or even though it wasn't based on something that actually
Yeah.
happened 100% that way, just to humanize people who end up in shitty situations, man. I think that's important.
Yeah. And
Because
I had a line in that about that exact thing where it's like most people barely will spare me some change. It's even more rare that they care to engage.
yeah, yeah,
And they even said, whew, caught me off guard. Because like I feel like, yeah, that shit was like we walk past homeless people all day. We have no idea what these guys have went through, where their story at. We a lot of the times it's just human nature to just write them off
yeah,
and be like, "Oh, you did that to yourself." But when you actually talk to some of these people, man, these guys, it's as simple as one thing going wrong in your life that can spiral everything else out of control. And then when you're at
yeah.
that position, it's really, really hard to dig yourself back out. It seems
Exactly,
hopeless, or
man.
you spiral even further. It's and
Well,
here, like in Edmonton, man, we have a really bad homeless population and a lot of drug overdoses. It's I mean, it's like that everywhere. There's not a single
Right.
city I've gone to. I've been to every major city in this country, and it's riddled everywhere. But like, I only know what I see here every day, and it's like, ew, it's
It's a
bad,
lot
man.
colder in Edmonton. You know that
It
Edmonton is
is
one of the worst places to be homeless, man. Like after living up there
absolutely.
and seeing how the tent cities up there looked compared to kind of tent city down here, um, there's a reason that Lethbridge has a big homeless population, and it's because if it does get cold, it's normally only for a night or two, and then it's back to a temperature you could survive in. But
You get
Edmonton,
those Chinook winds like Calgary out there too.
oh yeah, constantly,
Yeah,
man. Like
so nice. You get those heat
puddles
waves.
through the winter, just everything. It'll snow, but then within a week, it normally is melting again. So yeah,
Yeah, we
it's
don't get that here.
yeah,
Not at all.
for real, man. But yeah, I thought that Hope track was really poignant and well put, dude. I thought you killed that one.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Are you gonna do physical copies for this album?
Oh yeah, I got them. I didn't bring them up here, but yeah,
Already good to
I do
go.
have them already.
Nice
Yeah,
on CD or
yeah. CD.
vinyl. Okay, so I,
I
I
didn't
was
do
at a
vinyl
show.
because like vinyl's hard to get, man. It's
Yeah,
not impossible, but it's so expensive to produce. Like if you want an affordable vinyl, like if I want to make vinyls to where I can sell them to people at an affordable rate, I gotta spend like 5 grand just to get them made. Like
yeah.
it's just not a smart investment of money for me at this point.
You need a
You know,
second grant to do vinyl with,
yeah, like I
right?
don't
Yeah,
have an extreme amount of capital to work with when it comes to merch. So when I do that stuff, I grab stuff that like I know people will still like, but that I can keep making money off of, so I can keep pressing up more. And I don't want to order $5,000 worth of vinyl and sell, 20% of them and then be sitting on it.
so I bought a CD this weekend at a Sergeant and Comrade show that came to Lethbridge here. Shouts to them, it was dope. But it's an unreleased CD, and I was like, I'm gonna play this on Atzik as soon as I can, haha. And then I got home and was like, wait, my computers don't even have a CD drive. I don't have a CD player in my car. Like,
Mhm.
I guess I'm not gonna play this on Atzik. I'm just gonna leave it in its shrink wrap because CDs kind of don't exist anymore. So like, I was saying to my wife, like, if they would have had T-shirts for sale, and I bought a vinyl too, but it's pretty much the same situation with vinyl. Like, that's an album that's already on streaming, so I can actually listen to
Mhm.
it. But I was saying to my wife, like, if they had T-shirts, we would have walked out of there with 2 T-shirts
Yeah.
and still went home and streamed the music the same way that we are now. But we'd have T-shirts that we would walk around being human billboards for them in. So I don't know, dude. I'm wondering if CDs are actually the play anymore, dude. What do you think?
Well, yeah, they are for. You just gotta look at them for what they are now. They're not. People aren't buying CDs to listen to the music. They're buying CDs because it's a low ticket item that they don't have to spend too much money on, and they can still sport. It's
Right.
like it's just a memento. Memento, is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's just like a
It's a show of
my merch.
support for sure. Some sort of
Yeah, like my
souvenir,
merch booth,
right?
I have sticker packs for $10. I sell my CDs for $20, but it's just like it's a material. It's like a fucking toy or something. It's a
Yeah.
collectible. Sorry, that's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
collectible item. It's not as much for people to listen to it. Like I had a couple of my people that came to my private listening party, and they bought CDs, and the one girl was like, "Oh yeah, I have it in my Xbox." It's like,
Right.
yeah, because nobody has fucking CD players anymore.
Yeah.
So,
I do
but
have an
they're
old
still good to
computer.
have
I'll
because
have
they
to.
sell.
Yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
load it into my old computer and rip it onto a thumb drive so that I can actually play it on At6, this new album. But
But as an
yeah,
artist, anything you can make money off of is a good idea. So yeah,
sure.
CDs are a great idea because they're still a promotional tool. They're still a collectible for the fans that don't want to spend 80 or 70 or $60 on a piece of clothing or a shirt or hoodie or whatever. But
Yeah.
they can, I'll give you $20 for this. Yeah, for sure. I'm still supporting. And so yeah, you want low to high ticket items, I have
What do you
everything
think
at
you'd
my
have to?
merch table.
Sorry, what do you think you'd have to sell vinyl for? Because I was surprised at what they were selling vinyl for. They only charged me $30 for a vinyl, and I was like, well, shit, I can do that.
Yeah, so I wouldn't do that, but I don't know. I had a clothing company before too. Like the rule of thumb with this shit is you want a 3X. You always want a
Right.
3X. Like that's kind of like and there's some things I only 2X on because I don't want to, like, for instance, hats. Like hats are always expensive to make, but you can't sell a hat for $70.
Right.
So it's like, but once again, it's tying up capital and not making as much. Like on a business side of it, you want to spend as little capital as you can, make as much money as you can, But at the same time, you want to make sure you're putting out a product that the people are going to be happy to pay for, not this cheap little fucking dinky shirt or something that's just going to fade away after one wash. And like, so
Yeah.
you got to find the happy medium. And like that, I found my happy medium with shirts, crew necks, hoodies, and CDs and stickers. Those are my top items that I always carry. You can buy a sticker pack for 10, or you can buy a whole merch bundle for $200. Either way, like you're getting whatever type of value you want. But I'm
Yeah.
hoping, and from what I've gathered back in feedback, is that they're happy with what I have. Obviously, there's things I could have that people want. I think me personally, like from what I looked at, I didn't go too much extensive research, but like, uh, it was like I'd have to probably sell them for like $50, 50, $60 a vinyl, and that would only be doubling my money.
That was
And
more what I was expecting to pay, honestly. Yeah.
yeah, right. So like either they did one of two things: either they ordered a shitload of them and got them for a low price, or they're just selling them for
Kind
pretty
of
much
old
their
stock
cost
you
to
might as
get them
well
up.
sell, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't fault people for doing that too. If you want to sell items at cost and just get it out there
Yeah.
instead of trying to profit a bunch, but to me, this is my livelihood, so like I need to also look at that as part of it too. Like I need to be able to make money off this stuff, and this supplements my income. When
For
I
real.
go on tour, like merch money's half the money you're making. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you need to be able to like suffice that. It's not cheap to go on tour, you
Speaking of
know.
tour, man, we had to do this on a Sunday. Normally I do these on Tuesdays. But
Yeah.
we had to make it happen because I was booked up for next month already for Tuesdays and you were going on tour. So where are you touching down for tour, man? Tell me about the tour.
I'm doing most of Canada. I'm doing like, oh man, there's a lot of cities: Victoria, Vancouver, Nelson, Kelowna, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatoon, Regina, Winnipeg. I'm doing 6 or 7 shows in Ontario. I got Sudbury, Ottawa, Guelph, London, Toronto, Hamilton, and I
Damn.
feel like I'm forgetting one more. Oh, Sarnia. I'm doing Sarnia as well. And I fly to Newfoundland and I do St. John's as well. I didn't get the
Nice.
rest of the Maritimes or Quebec on this run, but it's just once again, it's expensive to get out there, and if the offers aren't high enough, it just doesn't make financial sense for me to,
That
spend
sounds
thousands of dollars to go out there.
Yeah, man, that sounds like one of the most complete tours that I've heard of a Canadian artist doing. A lot of the time, people are skipping over Winnipeg or Saskatoon, Regina. A lot of the
Yeah.
time, might do one of those three I see people's tours or whatever. But yeah, it's dope that you managed to get actual dates in every different city. Do you have openers who are going to be constant throughout the entire tour, or are you doing local talent
No,
at
there's no
different shows?
constant like that. So the Victoria to Winnipeg, those 9 shows I'm opening for Chris Webby.
Okay,
So it's
nice.
like Chris Webby, Greaves, Echo, Whitney Payton. It's a fucking stacked lineup. Like
Damn.
all 4 of these are like underground powerhouses that have their own following that could all warrant headlining their own shows.
Yeah,
So I'm blessed to be on that bill, and uh
should get you in
if
front of some new eyes too. I think probably. Eh?
yeah, and
Yeah.
that I had that in the pocket before the new year. So like early December, my bro told me about the tour and said, "You want to go?" I said, "Yeah." So I made sure I had the album out before the tour, and then once I had that, I was like, I might as well just book some extra ones, book Ontario, book Newfoundland again, and just make this a whole run to go along with the album.
Yeah.
So, but
Nice,
I'm
man.
big on touring. I tour every year. Like when you say not many artists do that, like there is only a few artists out here that are like consistently touring. I'm looking at a poster right now on the other side of my wall. This Doom Squad tour we did was like one of the most extensive ones I've seen. I think the only other person that's really done tours like this are like the ones that Robbie G will book, because he books
Right.
the venues himself and does it like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
like I think Madchild did like a 60 some city Canadian tour or something
Sure.
outrageous. But the last Doom Squad tour we did was 36 shows. And there
Damn.
was one point where it was like 20 shows in 21 days. It was like back to back to back. I got offered booking agent jobs from like 6 different booking agencies when they found out I booked this. They're
Yeah.
like, man, we need to, but it's like,
Was that all
once
in
again,
Canada or like 36
yeah,
shows into the States
all
too?
in
Okay.
Canada,
Damn.
from Charlottetown all the way to Victoria and everything in between.
Nice.
But like, I would do things like on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and shit. I would just take door deals instead of trying to get a guarantee. I'd
Yeah.
rather have the door deal and have a day off. As to
Yeah.
where like this tour, it's like I booked a couple like Wednesdays and Sundays, but like I do this Webby tour. I come home for a couple days. I fly to Newfoundland. I come home for like a week and a half. I fly to Ontario. I come back. I go to Red Deer for a show on the weekend. I come back. And I think I have some BC ones that I haven't launched yet. like middle BC and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I'm not trying to just be out on the road constantly as much anymore because it wears on you for sure. Now that I'm getting older, like my feet
Yeah.
start to hurt after like 10 shows. I'm like, man, I'm jumping around every day, and you don't get to sleep that well. You don't get to eat that well. Like,
For real. Living
not
on
to say I
fast
wouldn't
food
do
and
it.
shit.
Yeah, I'd still do those tours, but if I don't have to, why do it? You know?
Yeah, man. Here's a question I've been asking people recently, dude. A lot of ways to answer this one. When's the last time you wrote a bad verse?
Uh, well, probably recently. Like, not everything's going to be good, but you know, my writing process lately has been different than it has been my whole life. Because most of the time, I'll like write a bar, I'll think of something. No, that's not good. What else can go?
Yeah.
Now I write every single idea that comes to my mind because, like, I found that a lot of times I'd be sitting there for 20 minutes, half an hour, trying to find the perfect start to this verse, and I'm being overly critical on myself, and I'm not getting it. I think of 50 different things, but I'm like, oh no, that's not good enough. But what I started doing was writing all that down, and eventually you find the flow. So it's like maybe I'll write 8 bars that aren't the best, but then I'll write another 16 after that that I really like, and I'll just throw away those 8 bars and keep the 16 I really like. But
Right.
those 8 bars I wrote at the start got my creative juices flowing, and it got my, whatever you want to call it, self confidence or whatever up. Like, it's like, okay, you're getting into a zone. So on one hand, I think I've probably written a lot of bad verses because I write shit that I throw away. But on the other hand, I fine tune all of my shit. So like, I haven't put out a bad verse, I don't think, in fucking years.
There you go. Yeah, that's a
But
good answer, man. I kind of
once
ask it
again,
to try to see if guys throw away a lot of verses or have a lot of verses that never hit records or whatever, you know?
yeah, I have lots of bars that don't come out, but I don't release stuff like that. But once again, that's up to the listener to decide whether I have bad verses or not. Me
What's a
personally,
good
I
verse
don't
or
think I
bad
put
verse?
out any bad verse because
Yeah,
I wouldn't put out something that I think is bad. But
makes
somebody
sense,
else
dude.
might be like, yeah, I don't like this. That's corny.
Well, and I mean, the question also can be answered like beyond just what you put out, right? Like you said, there's a lot of stuff you end up scrapping or throwing away. So, yeah, it's not all golden necessarily. It just
No,
it
nothing.
depends what you decide to put out, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like
to,
there's less of it now than there was before. That's for
yeah,
sure. Like,
that makes
obviously I've been
sense.
doing this long enough where I've like, I kind of hit my stride. I'm confident in what I'm doing. And like,
Yeah.
I have
Well,
more
and
bad beats than I have bad verses.
yeah, well, and if your workflow is just kind of write down anything and just write something, then sometimes you're going to end up with something you don't necessarily like afterwards. So
That's
it can
it. But I
just
just
be
want
to
to get it going, get it flowing,
spur
get those
things.
creative beats going.
Yeah, that makes sense, dude. I noticed on Junk's new album, you're featured on there, and I feel like before your verse starts, you say something about how you guys didn't get along back in the day or something. Am I right in that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand on that at all? I feel like there might be a story there because you've worked with each other a ton over the past years.
Yeah.
But how did you
That's my
get
dog.
from
I
that
love
place
Junk.
to
I
that
love him to
place?
death, man. He's a fucking gem of a human. He's an amazing rapper.
Yeah.
It was like a little bit of just a misunderstanding that, like, and we were younger at the time, this is like 2016 or something.
Sure.
It had to do with a Doom Squad cipher. And we got him on a Doom Squad cipher and we filmed it and we put it out. And then somebody had commented, this is his verse from this old song that he did. And I
Okay.
was like, man, you reused the verse on the cipher? What the fuck? And he's like, I didn't know it was supposed to be a fresh verse. So like, I don't
It
know if
is
that's
what it
true or
is.
not.
Sure.
I know the guy. I give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't know, but what he did do is we chatted it out. He apologized. He's like, my bad. I didn't, like I said, I didn't think it was supposed to be. I thought I just had to get a fucking verse on this, whatever the case may be. Whether he actually had to, like, he didn't know, or he was just like, he was on tour at the time, so he's pressed for time and still wanted to get it done, and was like, oh, maybe I'll just grab this old verse that nobody really knows.
Yeah.
Either way, that's what it kind of stemmed from, but it wasn't like we were beefing or like anything like that. But yeah, at first, and when I found out about it, I didn't approach it in the most diplomatic way either. I was like, yo, what the fuck, blah, blah, you know what I mean? And
Sure. Yeah.
so, like, yeah, but yeah, pretty quickly that just got, all it took was one conversation and we were good. And then
That's good, man.
We've toured together numerous times. We've worked together a lot. That
Yeah,
song on his album, I love that shit. I made the beat for that too, and it's like one of my favorite beats I made. And he was in town one day, and we just went to NATO, so we actually did it together in the studio, which was a
nice.
cool vibe. Every song I've done with him, I think I have like 3 or 4 songs with him beforehand too. We never recorded that together, so
Yeah,
this is the
nice, man.
first time we like got in there.
Well, I'm glad you guys patched shit up after that initial mishap or whatever,
Like,
because yeah,
like I
you've
said,
made
it
a
was
lot of dope
fucking
shit together.
pretty much nothing. And it was, I mean, it wasn't like they were trying to write diss tracks to each other or meet up and fight or anything like that. It was just like
I figured as
a
much. I kind of
misunderstanding.
guessed it was just like friendly competition or whatever, maybe that you guys saw
Yeah,
each other as rivals almost or something. But yeah, no, that's a good story you told, man.
yeah.
So this is kind of just open ended. But what's the most annoying thing about being a rapper in Canada?
In Canada.
Yeah, let's say in
Uh,
Canada. That narrows it down a little.
well, in Canada, the fact that we don't have that big of a music scene and we don't have that big of a population, I would say that's the most annoying thing. In general, it's drunk people at shows breathing on you with their stank breath. That's my least favorite thing. But once again, it comes with the territory. They want to show you love, and then I'll take it. But like, I don't know. I think the most annoying thing is being an artist from Canada is like we don't have that big of a foundation or an industry here. So it's
Right.
like, it's really hard to like get the attention. When you think about we have 10% of the population that the States do. I look at all of my analytics, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, Apple, I have more listeners in the States than I have in Canada. And rightfully so. There's 10 times as many people there. If
Right.
you're doing your job right, that's what it should be. But yeah, there's not a real infrastructure here. It's hard to build a real infrastructure here because we have so much land and not that many people.
Right.
Another annoying part of it is touring here. It's fucking very expensive to tour here because it's like there's so much space in between all of these places and the terrain
Yeah.
isn't the best. So you can only tour like X amount of months out of the year. Like, if you're doing a show in Winnipeg and then you have shows in Ontario, you have to plan this properly because you're going to have to stop in Thunder Bay and you're going to have to stop in Sault Ste. Marie in these small little markets that don't have the biggest fan bases for this stuff. But
Right.
you got to do the show anyways. And then, like, you got to do them on shitty days, usually Sundays and Tuesdays and stuff like that, because those would be your days that you're driving. Because you want your Winnipeg shows and your Toronto shows to be on weekends or hot days and stuff like that. So, yeah, touring is very annoying in Canada as well.
For real.
You got to spend so much time out there and so much gas and mileage and all that kind of stuff.
I hear that tour grants are a thing, and probably that would help in the same way that a grant helps recording an album. So that you can take more time or whatever. If you had gas money being paid by some grant, it wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, I hear you. It's a long drive between a lot of cities out here, man.
Well, I've got a couple tour grants, but actually, I don't know if I've gotten numerous. I've only gotten one. But the thing with the tour grants is you don't get them until the tour is done, usually, anyways. Because you're not planning your tour so far ahead to where you can get. It takes 4 months to hear back from a grant, anyways. Unless your tour is booked 6 months in advance, which 90% of the time they're not. And like the majority of the time you're going to get the grant in before you go on tour, but you're not going to hear about it or even get it until you get back. So you still have to put the money up front. You still have to have, the last cross country tour I did cost me 14 grand just to do it. You're renting vehicles and paying people to come with you because you need a staff and you need gas and you need hotels and there's days off. Every day off you have on tour, a hotel for one person, you're spending $200. If you got 4 people with you, you need 2 rooms or an Airbnb. So you're spending $300-400 a night just on accommodations. Then you got food, then you got gas, and then it's like that shit adds up
Stacks
fast.
up. Yeah,
You want to
for
rent
real,
a
man.
vehicle for a month, it's going to cost you 5 grand. Like all these little things add up quick.
Yeah, definitely, dude. This was something that you kind of touched on earlier when you were talking about spending the first month in the back room writing and then the next 2 months coming out to record more in the front room or whatever at NATO's place. But how long do you like having between writing a verse and when it's time to record that verse?
Oh, that changes every time. It depends.
Just
I have
whatever works.
I have a setup right here. So a lot of the times, if I'm writing at home, I'll write it here, record it, see how it sounds, listen to it 30 times, then take it to the studio. That was
Yeah.
always my process before I did this album. My process has always been make songs here, record them here, see how it sounds, see what I like, listen to it a bunch, know what I want to change. Then once I have it fine tuned already in my head, I take it to the studio and do it that way. But like, yeah, that's different every time. It just kind of depends what the verse is for, how, or like if I'm writing something, I'm like, man, this I fucking love this. I want to
Yeah.
record it right now. If I'm like writing a song that I need for like a feature or something, I'll just write the verse. I won't even lay it down for a month and a half until it's time to send the feature out or whatever. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's never any real urgency for me to like record something after I write it. Maybe that's because I've had a studio for 10 plus years and like it's just like it's always there. So when I need to do it, I can just do it.
Yeah.
I
Do you
guess.
ever find yourself looking at a verse you wrote and fucking up the delivery, or like not being able to find the delivery that you intended when you wrote it?
Yeah, oh yeah, lots.
Yeah, because I've heard
Which is
people
also
say, that's why they like to write it and then jump in the booth and record it right there. But if you're talking about doing something a
yeah.
month later, might be tough picking it back
Not
up.
necessarily on that vibe. I've never like I can always get that back pretty quick. There's been
Okay.
sometimes where I'm like, oh shit, how did I write this? But then I just go over it for a minute and I got it. But
Yeah.
there's definitely times where I'll write something, I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna do this like this, then I'll just go record it quick and it doesn't turn out how I seen it in my head. So
Fair
then
enough, man.
which is also a good reason that I have a home studio. So it's like, okay, well, let's try it this way, try it this way, try it this way. Instead of going and paying studio time to record something, leaving with it, you don't like it, then you got to go back there and keep trying and trying again. So
Yeah.
I do all my stuff here first, usually fine tune it, then I take it to the proper studio and lay it down how I like it.
Right on, man. So I've been putting everybody on the political hot seat because it's the election right now. Do you got anything to say about the federal election? People can go vote tomorrow.
That's all I'll say. Go vote.
There you go. Okay.
You'll notice about me. One thing you'll never see me touch on. I don't touch on politics. I don't touch on sexuality. I don't touch on any of that shit. Leave me the fuck out of all this. I have my own beliefs. Everybody else has their own beliefs. Unless you're one of my friends, you probably won't know my beliefs. And it doesn't matter because I don't think any of that shit makes me who I am. Unless you're a racist or like a homophobe or just like a hateful person.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not trying to get intertwined with any of that kind of shit. Like,
yeah, man.
I'm here
Fair
to make
enough.
music, not here to.
I just opened the door.
I do encourage
case,
everybody to go vote. I encourage everybody to go vote. Use your voice as much as it counts for.
Fuck yeah.
And get out there and do your part.
Hell yeah.
Tomorrow.
Man.
Tomorrow. If you're watching this live, go vote tomorrow.
So dude, we've been talking for about an hour. Do you mind if I put you through a couple of these how important questions?
Let's go.
Okay. How important is...
How do you want me to do this? Or am I doing this like out of 10?
It's up to you, really. Some people have answered them out of 10, given a rating like that, or just like, very important, not very important. I always tell people you can be long-winded if you want to, or you can just be like, that's not very important, and we'll go on to the next one. I got enough of them here that we can knock out a couple of them.
I'll do them out of 10, and then I'll give explanations if needed.
Sure.
That's what I'll do.
How important is having stage banter or storytelling between songs when you're doing a live show?
9.5.
Yeah.
9.5. Especially like it depends a little bit on like if it's your show and you're headlining or if you're opening for somebody. Right. I think for me, like I've done a lot of opening supports for bigger artists in front of crowds that majorly don't know who I am. So I think that little bit of banter in between has really done well for me.
Okay.
And because it can segue, it's a little bit more personal. You're telling a bit of a story on what it is or whatever that is. Yeah. So I think it's super essential if you're trying to make new fans. But also, man, you don't want to be fucking drawing that shit out either and just talking forever. Like
I thought you were going to take it that way. I was going to say a crowd that doesn't know you doesn't really want to know like about the heartfelt story behind the song you're about to kick for them necessarily. But maybe
I think they do sometimes. I think but yeah, knowing when to like cut that off and like, just a quick, this is what this song is about, or like, it's hard for me to explain what I do. And I'm not necessarily trying to give away all my sauce, but like,
sure.
I also like, when I have songs about like, chasing your dreams and stuff. I'll do like almost like a half-ass like motivational speech for 15 seconds. I'm
Yeah.
not explaining what the song's about. I'm saying like, if you have a dream in life, don't ever let nobody tell you that you can't do that. You are the driver of your ship, like these kind of things where it's like you get someone in that zone and then the song drops and that little bit of motivational or that it gets them into it more. They feel it once it drops and they're like, yeah, yeah, I am. This is me. Yeah, I can do this. Like shit like that where it's like or there's sometimes before songs, I say 5 words, but then it drops on cue. Like when I do my rehearsals, I rehearse what I say in between my songs.
Okay. And you've
Like,
got a set session for your entire like how the songs will flow into one another. It's practiced
yeah,
that
I
way.
always make
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it changes for every show. It depends if I'm headlining. It depends if I'm opening. Like I said, I had to fine tune my set for this Chris Webby tour because it's like a mix of like, okay, I have a new album out. I want to perform some of my new material, but this is also a whole crowd that maybe not whole crowd. Like I have a decent draw now, especially in these markets, but
Yeah.
there's going to be a majority of these crowd that doesn't really know who I am. So it's like, I also want to use some of my tried and tested songs that I know can win crowds over, that I know people fuck with. So it's like, yeah, out of maybe 8 songs, 4 of them are new and 4 of them are my classics that I know will still work. And so like my set will vary as opposed to my headlining set, it'll be like 70% new music, 30% of the classics. Because if you're coming to my headlining show, you're definitely a fan of me. You've seen me probably before. You've seen me perform my popular ones. You probably want to hear some of the new shit. So like
Yeah.
it all depends on like where you're performing,
That makes
and if you're
sense.
doing a festival, you want to do something different. And if
Yeah.
it all depends.
How about how important is album art, cover art?
It's pretty important. I'd say like an 8.
Okay. Um,
Like used in the right way, like a cover for an actual album or compared to a cover for a single, a little bit different, but like it depends. I'm methodical with my stuff, so like when I do an album, like I'm thinking fonts, I'm thinking color themes, I'm thinking this is what I'm doing for the next 6 months. This is every piece of merch I have will be pretty much on this colorway. Every piece of promotional material you see from me will be highly focused on that color and the same fonts that I use, and it creates that awareness, like subconsciously, that when you see a backwards E, that's fucking Eminem immediately.
yeah.
But if you've seen it in like an old English font, you wouldn't think Eminem. But when you see it in that bold, plain E, you know exactly what that is. So those little touches of branding are super important.
That makes me wonder if M came up with that backwards E himself, or if that was somebody on some marketing team that was like, "No, we'll put the E backwards all the time for Eminem." Like,
Yeah, it's hard to say,
because
but
as an indie artist, you got to cover all that shit yourself. But yeah,
yeah,
might have a big team behind you if you're signed.
but that's just what it is. People they see it and they know what it is and they become familiar with it. So like, yeah, that's super important to me. As far as the actual cover art, I do think it's important because people see it, but I don't think it's like the end all be all. But if you
Yeah,
have a shitty cover art, people are less likely that don't know you are less likely to click on your shit for sure.
yeah, hell yeah, dude. Um, this answer will probably be similar to that last one that you just finished saying, that if people who don't know you are less likely to click on your shit. But how important is a song's sound quality, like the mix and master of it?
Very.
Yeah,
I like it. I'd say like an 8 or a 9 as well for the
yeah,
most part. Like you want your shit to sound good. Uh,
makes sense.
uh but like, the difference between like a fucking 7 out of 10 mix and a 9 out of 10 mix, the average listener might not notice it. The
Sure.
average listener will notice like a 2 out of 10 mix compared to a 7 out of 10 mix for sure. But like if your mix is pretty damn good or amazing, the average listener doesn't pinpoint these little fucking, oh, your S's aren't as sharp here and your highs are a little bit lower on here.
Yeah,
That's more on the artist end and like, the industry people that care more about that. But yeah, a mix is definitely, you need your shit to sound good. You need it to sound just as good on headphones that it does in your car. And one thing we do is a phone test where we play it off the actual phone by itself with these little speakers that don't really have
right.
bass. Can
Yeah,
you hear the bass pop through on that? Because that's huge. Like little things like that make
yeah,
a difference.
that makes sense. Um, how about how important is another artist's opinion of your music?
0.
I like that.
Actually, it depends who it is. An artist you don't know, 0.
Right.
People that you trust, artists that you look up to, artists that you trust, that you think have knowledge and stuff, I think could be like upwards to 8 or a 9 there.
Fair
I have
enough.
certain artist friends where I hold their opinion very highly, but it depends who that artist is. Like in general, other people's opinion of your shit doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But back to like what we were talking about before and having good friends in your corner that will be real with you, those type of people, their opinion does matter because it can shape the way you sound. And if they genuinely care about you and your art and wanting it to be as good as possible, they will give you an outside perspective that you wouldn't see on your own.
Yeah, and easier to take a tip from somebody else who you've heard their
Yeah.
music and you trust that they're a good artist too or whatever.
But let's be real. A lot of artists are not good at taking criticism. We
Yeah,
take it personal.
for sure, for sure.
We take it personal. But I seen Snoop Dogg one time. Somebody asked him what his key to success is, and he said, being coachable." That struck with me because I'm historically and typically not that coachable of a person. I will take criticism well. I don't, but at the same time, sometimes I fight it because sometimes I think I know better than the person that's criticizing me. But
Sure.
in reality, almost nobody is wrong in their opinion of it because that's their opinion, the way that they hear it and the way that they see it.
This is a
So
new one that plays off of that I haven't asked anybody, but how important is having a mentor in
huge,
in the
huge,
industry? Yeah.
huge. Yeah, 10. If you have
Hell
a
yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
You have a good one, especially if you're green and you know you're new to this shit. Like hell yeah, I've had numerous mentors over the years, and I've been a mentor to a lot more people than have mentored me. And I think like yeah, like this industry is confusing. It's difficult. It's shady. It's having a mentor in the music industry that knows what they're doing and can give you the right guidance could be the difference of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars over 10 years or spending small amounts of money over a short period of time to accumulate the same results.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna sit there and make all of these mistakes with yourself. And it's like that in lots of industries, but I think this industry specifically is like there's so many scammers, there's so many hustlers, there's everybody selling you a dream. And if you don't know better, you're gonna get caught up in this and you're gonna lose money, you're gonna lose time, and you're
Yeah.
gonna those type of things really like deplete your motivation.
Don't
It
trust
makes
the
you not want
mentors
to
online
do it.
who are asking you to pay them for their tips. I don't think that's how you end up
Yeah.
paying to get on whack playlists or fucking paying for.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And don't get twisted. There's a few people online that offer courses on industry knowledge and stuff like that. And like
Sure.
I've even thought about doing it with people before and running classes on like basics of understanding, how to register your music for royalties. What's the difference between royalties and publishing? Like these type of things that most artists don't understand going into this. That like when you're just a small artist posting on your YouTube and your Spotify and it doesn't really matter. But when you're getting numbers and when you're doing real things, like these things matter, man. Stuff like Sound Exchange and Resound and these places that collect like the royalties that SoCan and DistroKid and stuff don't. Like, I'll bet you a lot of people don't know that there's bags sitting there just waiting for them to be collected.
And they
And even
disappear if you don't
like,
collect them, right? I think it's like 2 years or some shit. If you don't claim them, they fucking
well, yeah,
disappear them.
every organization has a different timestamp on it.
Yeah.
Because there's the stuff like MRock and there's numerous organizations that collect different types of royalties from different types of things. But yeah, like you could be sitting on $10,000 and not even know it, and things like that. Where it's like, that
Yeah.
could be life changing for an artist.
Every dollar counts out here for sure, man.
Yeah.
About well, we kind of touched on this, but let's put it into a soundbite, bro. How important is showing vulnerability in music?
10. It's because showing well, I mean, it depends who you are. Once again, it depends what your brand is. Like if your whole brand is being tough and
Right.
this and that, then maybe vulnerability isn't the best way to go. But I think vulnerability, broke down to layman's terms, is relatability.
Yeah.
And I think relatability in music is absolutely essential. And if that all boils down into just like being yourself and being honest, like, one thing that really struck me too is when I look at all of the artists that stand the test of time, I'm talking 10 plus years still being able to do it. They're all very, very authentic. They are themselves. Even if you're like, look at someone like Tech Nine. Tech Nine, like
Sure.
his image and all the thing is might be a bit of a character in a sense, but everything about him is legit. Everything he raps about is authentic experience. Like he is 100% authentically, unapologetically himself, and that will stand the test of time. A Kendrick, an Eminem, a Jay-Z, these guys are like as they grow with their audience. They are who they are. Like you know what you're getting with this person when you're following them, and I think that's like very essential.
Yeah, man. I would agree. Okay, last one of these. How important is keeping certain parts of your life private as an artist? Because you were talking earlier about like how, that's part of this whole thing. If you want to be an artist, you're going to have to open that door and let people kind of have access to you like that, right?
I think
And
it's I
Ben
think it
Stiller
depends.
dodging paparazzi and shit.
I think it depends. I think in some cases it's like a 5 or a 6, and I think in some cases it's a 10. It depends like what your brand is. It depends who you are and what your brand is and what you're pushing. Because for some people, being extremely open, like
Yeah,
LaRussell is lets everybody into pretty much 100% of his life. You know what I'm saying? And that has worked for him tremendously. And then you have like a someone like a Playboy Cardi who's a very mysterious, you don't know much about him, like I think that works for him the same way that being completely open works for a Russell. So I think that depends on your brand and who you are and what you're trying to convey as an artist is
yeah,
how much you decide to let people into.
that makes sense.
Because,
So many of these do depend on what brand you're building for yourself, right? There's no real right answer to any of these. It's just, yeah, opinions.
and that's the thing with music, right? There's the same way there's no real key to success. Like there's a few like guidelines to follow. Sure, be consistent, be persistent, be work hard, don't stop. Always look at yourself in the mirror and know where you need to improve and things like this. But everybody's path to success is different.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So it's like what works for this person might not work for you. Probably won't work for you.
When you look back at your path to success up till now, is there anything that you wish somebody would have told you before, like earlier in your career?
Hmm, that's a hard question. Um, there's a lot of things people did tell me that I didn't listen to. I
Sure.
would I wouldn't say there's something specifically I wish somebody would have told me earlier. I wish I would have listened more earlier. And I feel like because my answer to that question would be I wish somebody told me to listen more, but I wouldn't have listened. So like
Yeah.
I wish I was just more open-minded to like taking people's advice and listening and looking and like yeah, I mean my piece of advice for an artist right now would be work hard, stay consistent, and be yourself. Don't try to be anything that you're looking at or that you see. It's be your version of what you want to be. Be yourself. That's the number one thing. So
Hell
I
yeah.
guess that would be the answer to the question, but I don't think that question really has an answer for me because
Fair enough, man. Yeah.
I was stubborn and I didn't listen. So anything somebody would have told me back then, I probably wouldn't have listened to anyways. But
That probably goes for a lot of artists too. Young artists are
yeah,
tough to tell anything to, right?
I wish I would have listened more before, for
Yeah.
sure.
Weird. All right, dude. Thanks for spending your time doing this. There's a few questions I ask everybody before they get out of here.
Let's
Can
go.
you describe your local scene? I had you do it last time, but has it changed? What do you think of it now?
I don't remember what I said last time, but I'm gonna
Neither
say
do
my
I.
local scene is the local scene in Edmonton is very, very talented.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of hard workers. I think most local scene, like everybody talks about their local scene is like this. I've been to a lot of places. I've done shows in 77 different cities over 11 countries, and all of them are the same.
Yeah.
They're all clicky. They're all out for themselves, trying to get it. And there's certain cities that have a better level of community than others, I would say. But I don't know if it's the actual city itself or it's like a population thing. Like I would say Vancouver has a better community than we do as far as coming together. But there's also a lot more people in Vancouver. So maybe just on the surface it looks like that because there's more people coming together, but there's
Yeah.
probably just as much separation and clicky shit happening there as well. We just don't it seems like it's better than ours because there's more people doing it.
Right.
So But I think, yeah, Edmonton's very very driven. I say this all the time. We breed winners. We don't have an industry here. We don't have an infrastructure here for music. So you have to work harder to get the same type of thing that somebody, say, from Toronto would do, or blah, blah, blah. Not to say those guys don't have to work hard by any means, but we're just a little bit more separated from the rest of the world and from the music industry. So I think it breeds hustle. It makes you have to hustle harder for what you want.
Yeah, man. That actually makes me want to ask you a question that I skipped over earlier, but
Let's go.
Would you say that your sound represents Edmonton, or that it kind of stands apart from it?
I'd say that's not up to me to decide.
Okay. Yeah. Even having a city sound is a tough thing to describe, right? Like, does Edmonton have a sound?
I don't think there is Edmonton doesn't have a sound yet.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell you that much. I don't think any city in Canada has a sound other than Toronto.
Sure.
And I still think there's a lot of people in Toronto that wouldn't want to claim that as their sound either. But I think, yeah, I don't think we have a specific sound. I don't think I would be the sound. I think there's people that would say I am the sound of Edmonton, but that's probably just because more people outside of Edmonton know me than the majority of other Edmonton artists.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think we have a sound. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Yeah. All right, dude. So where can people get tickets for all these upcoming tour dates and stuff? Where can they
Kryple.ca, baby, right on my website. If you want to be specific, Kryple.ca/shows. But you can just go to the website and click the shows tab too. Tickets to every event are on there.
Right on. And where are you most active on social media for people to follow?
Instagram, probably.
Yep. All right. Kryple on all the platforms, though. Easy to find.
Yes. KYPLE.
Thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. Flying formation all day, baby. Let's support. I want to say before I end, I appreciate you like a motherfucker for how much you support independent artists, Canadian artists, and just the things that you love. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of passion to do something that doesn't have much fruit to the labor. Do you know what I mean? There's not much payback to being here and spending all this time interviewing artists and doing this. So I appreciate people like you especially, but like anybody that wants to put the time out to showcase what we're working with. But you in specific, I appreciate you doing this kind of stuff and shedding light to everybody, big, small, doesn't matter where it is. Yeah, you just want it to get the shine it deserves. And
dude, I can genuinely say that everybody who I've talked to is somebody who I genuinely fuck with. Like, I genuinely respect their artistry. I genuinely, even the people who I've talked to whose music isn't really for me, I can respect their grind. I can respect their legacy. I can respect something about them in a genuine way. So, like, I'm really not out here just booking interviews with people who, are names on the come up, or I'm really doing this with just my ears, choosing who to talk to based on whose music I play on ATSIC. And that's really the criteria, man. Yeah.
Authenticity, man. Like that's been a theme of this interview pretty much. It's like, just you're doing what you want to do and you love doing it. And so that shines through.
And that's rewarding itself, man. So
man.
I appreciate being appreciated, dude. Thanks a ton.
Yeah, likewise, bro. But yeah, thank you for having me, man. Much love.
Man. Signing out. Peace, man.
All right, peace.
All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out. That was fun talking to Kryple again after, I want to say, over a year probably since I last talked to him. I think he was promoting his last album when I last spoke with him. But we've got all sorts of interviews coming up. Since this is a Sunday one, I have an interview coming up in just 2 days. I'm talking to Hardbody Dreams. He's a Vancouver-based MC. That's April 29th, if you're listening to this after the fact. I talked to Gritfall and Roshan for interview number 100 on May 6th. I'm looking forward to that. They're both returning guests who I had fun talking to individually, who are now, united for an EP. They dropped a dope EP called You Don't Get It. Which I've been playing on ATSIC and looking forward to playing more. May 13th, I talked to Hellenbach. He's a Winnipeg-based MC. Looking forward to talking to him. May 20th, it's Quake Matthews. And the week after that, I talked to Stephen Hero. So we're staying out on the East Coast, talking to artists who I really respect. Like I said, that's the only artists I talk to here. You can't pay to come on the show. You can't just hit me, and if I don't fuck with your music, you won't get a slot. But I've been booking artists into June as well. So if you enjoy this type of stuff, hit follow on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Hit follow on Twitch if you're watching on Twitch. I appreciate people who use their Prime, Amazon Prime subscriptions. It gives you a free Twitch subscription, so you can actually attach your Amazon Prime to your Twitch account, and then you can use that to pay one of your favorite creators, you know, maybe Fly in Formation, with a subscription. So take some money directly from Jeff Bezos that you're already giving him, pass it over to your favorite streamer. I encourage people to do that. But of course, find me on the social media. Let me know what you think of you know, what I do here with Fly in Formation and After the Smoke is Clear. Make sure you tap in for After the Smoke is Clear. If you want to hear the music from these artists who I talk to every week, I play a ton of it. Hour worth of new Canadian hip-hop every week. ETSIC, After the Smoke is Clear. You can find that at mixcloud.com/Doobyis. And yeah, back to where we started. Doobyis.com is the hub for everything that I do. Tap in over there and tell a friend about the show if you want to help out. Word of mouth goes a long ways. Make sure you check out Kryple's new album, Johnny Rich. It's dope. It's one of the most solid albums that I've heard this year so far. Very cohesive, and yeah, all sorts of good bars to get into, all sorts of clever wordplay, good topics, good you know, good cohesion throughout the entire album. I think him and NATO really put together a banger there, so definitely don't sleep on that. I will catch y'all on Tuesday. Thanks for coming through.